When you're in a shop or a warehouse and you finally find a gantry crane that looks like it could do the job, the excitement is quickly followed by the "what if" voice in your head. You've probably seen the cheap, lightweight models that promise 1,000-pound capacity, only to have the trolley wobble and the boom droop the first time you lift a pallet. That regret is real, and it's why I spent a good few hours digging through specs, reading the few buyer comments that exist, and watching a couple of installation videos before I even thought about pressing play on a review. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What makes the Vestil AHA 2158 stand out is that it's not trying to be a budget-friendly, just-get-hijab-done piece. It's built around a welded aluminum frame that feels more like a piece of industrial equipment than a DIY accessory. The frame's aluminum gives you corrosion resistance, which matters if you're working in a shop that sees oil splashes or a workshop that isn't climate-controlled. The real test, though, is how that construction translates into day-to-day use when you're moving heavy loads across a floor that isn't perfectly flat. If you're the kind of shop owner who needs to lift engine blocks, large sheet metal, or pallets of parts on a regular basis, the 2,000-pound capacity is the first thing that catches the eye. In practice, you'll find the crane's load rating is generous enough to handle a 1,800-pound engine block with a little breathing room, which is exactly the margin most mechanics look for. The height adjustability up to 8 feet of usable lift means you can raise the trolley high enough to clear workbenches, then lower it just enough to slide a piece onto a stand. Adjusting the height isn't a manual crank. It's designed to be done with a fork truck or a small overhead lift, so you're not wasting time wrestling with a hand turn. In a shop that already has a forklift, that integration feels seamless. One of the most practical aspects of this crane is the set of 4 swivel, glass-filled nylon casters. Those aren't the cheap plastic wheels you find on a lot of low-end gantries. The glass-filled nylon is tough enough to roll over concrete, rubber mats, and even small debris without the wheels digging in. The swivel action gives you 4-way maneuverability, which means you can align the trolley perfectly with a workpiece without having to back up and reposition the whole crane. In a real-world scenario, I saw a shop tech load a 1,500-pound steel frame onto the trolley, swivel the crane to a workbench, and then slide the frame directly onto a welding jig-awl without a single bump. That kind of fluid movement is what separates a crane that saves you time from one that becomes a source of frustration. Now, let's talk about the hidden trade-offs. The first thing you'll notice is the weight of the crane itself. Because the frame is welded aluminum and not a light-gauge steel, the unit weighs a few hundred pounds. That's great for stability, but it also means you'll need a decent amount of floor space and a forklift or pallet jack just to get the crane into position the first time. If you're a hobbyist who works out of a garage and only occasionally needs a gantry, you might find that extra handling step more cumbersome than it's worth. The adjustment mechanism also presumes you have a fork truck or an overhead lift handy. Without that, you'd have to rent or borrow one, which adds to the overall cost of ownership. Another practical consideration is the overall footprint. The 15-foot width is generous, giving you a long span to support wide loads, but it also means the crane takes up a lot of floor area. In a cramped shop that already has multiple stations, you might have to rearrange your layout just to accommodate the gantry. That's not a deal breaker if you're setting up a dedicated area for heavy lifting, but it's something you need to factor into your floor plan. On the plus side, the casters lock, so once you've positioned the crane, it stays put, preventing accidental drift when you're applying load. Who should definitely consider this crane? Small to mid-sized machine shops that regularly handle loads in the 1,000 to 2,000 pound range, and that already have a forklift or a small overhead hoist, will find the Vestil AHA 2158 to be a solid investment. It's also a good fit for automotive repair shops that need to lift engines or large transmission assemblies and want the flexibility to move the load between service bays. The compliance with CMA and ANSI standards adds a layer of confidence for facilities that need to meet occupational safety regulations. You won't have to worry about the crane failing an audit because it's not up to code. Who might want to skip it? If you're a hobbyist, a DIYer, or a small home workshop that only lifts occasional light loads, say a few hundred pounds, you'll likely be overpaying for capacity you'll never use.